Welcome, it is your girl Sanaa and I'm back, and as you can tell, budget buddies, by the title of this video, I'm going to get you guys up and running on your cash stuffing journey, and we don't have much time, so let's go. So in my last video, I gave you all my biggest advice on how to start cash stuffing, and if you haven't checked this video out right here, this video is full of good information on how to start cash stuffing, especially for beginners. But if you've been cash stuffing already, you might want to check this out because you might be doing something wrong. People always ask me, what do I do first? Like, how do I start cash stuffing? And as I always tell you, you have to create a budget. You need a working budget in order to start cash stuffing. In this video, we are going to talk about 3 different styles of budgeting. I've been cash stuffing since 2019. And out of all this time, I noticed that there are 3 popular budgeting styles that we see people using in the budgeting community. I've tried them all. And as a matter of fact, I don't stick to one budgeting style. I actually incorporate 2 of them, 2 out of the 3, but I'm working on my high level getting to the 3rd budgeting style. So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about zero-based budgeting. We're going to talk about paycheck budgeting and the percentage category budgeting, which is the 50-30-20, the 60-20-20, or the 70-25-15. No, that doesn't add up. You decide the percentage, but we'll get into that when we discuss that budgeting style. And just to add a little something on the end, I'm going to go over my personal way of budgeting. Budgeting is your personal journey, so you can tweak any budgeting style to make it fit you and make it your own. Zero-based budgeting requires assigning every dollar of your income to a specific purpose, ensuring that income minus expenses equals 0. Unlike traditional budgeting, which may allow for some flexibility in spending, zero-based budget requires individuals to allocate all income towards expenses, savings, debt, repayment, or investments. This approach encourages intentional decision-making and prioritization of financial goals, as every dollar has a designated purpose. All over YouTube, you may see the budgeters with the zero-based budget. What they're doing is they're listing their income at the top of the paper. Then they're taking their fixed expenses, which are their major priority expenses, like their rent, their mortgage, their gas, and they're putting all of their fixed expenses under one category. Then they're taking what's left and they're going to put money aside for their variable spending, how much they're going to need for food, gas, dining out, any fun or activities. They're going to take what's left after that. They're going to make it towards debt payments, savings, or investments. Let's do a mock budget and let's see what that looks like. So here I'm going to be using my payday budget book. I'm going to be using a payday budget worksheet, which is inside of the book. I complete one of these for each paycheck. Just to let you know that the total income, we're going to do this and we're going to do a zero-based budget. The income for this pay period, let's say, was $3,000. So we're going to bring their income here and they're going to pay their bills. They're going to pay rent, let's say car, let's say electric, and let's say water. They're going to pay $700 for rent. They're going to pay $200 for their car. They're going to pay $100 for electric, and let's say $100 for water. So that is $1,100 that they're going to be paying for their fixed expenses. They have $1,100. Their income was $3,000. Okay. What do they have left over? What do they have left over? They have $1,900 left over to spend on their budget. So now what they're going to do is they're going to think about their variable expenses. What do they have to pay out of their variable expenses? Now, for the sake of this worksheet, we're going to say the variable expenses are what their envelopes and sinking funds are. They're going to spend, and here we list the variable expenses. So their variable expenses could be food, dining out, gas, and let's say self-care. And that could be their variable expenses. So they're going to do $200 for food, dining out $100, gas $50, and self-care $50. Okay. So that right there is $400 that they've already determined for their variable spending. They're going to go and put $400 for their variable expending. They're going to minus out the 19. That's going to give them $1,500. So now they have $1,500 to make some savings and debt payments. So they want to put $1,000 to debt. So they're going to go here and put $1,000 to debt. And that means they have $500 left over. They're going to put into their 401k. They're going to put $500 into the 401k. And they're going to put the $500 here. So that leaves them $1,000 there. And then they're going to put that $1,000 to debt. That's going to leave them 0. So that is a zero-based budget where they have assigned every dollar a job. Every dollar has a specific purpose, helping you to obtain your financial goals. So from my experience, zero-based budgeting is a very easy and simple way to budget. So let's get into the next style of budgeting. Okay. So budgeting style number 2, and this is a personal fave of mine, paycheck budgeting, also known as paycheck-to-paycheck budgeting, is a budgeting method that involves organizing and allocating your income based on the frequency of your paychecks. It's particularly common for individuals who receive income on a biweekly or monthly basis. But the key principle here is paycheck budgeting is to plan how to allocate each paycheck to cover expenses until the next paycheck arrives. I am paid personally weekly. I take my weekly paycheck and I budget that money. I say what bills are going to be paid from that paycheck each week and how much I'm going to be given to my cash envelopes and sinking funds, which is my variable spending or my long or short-term savings goals. I also determine what I'm going to be given to savings and what I'm going to be given to debt. Now, let me tell you the priority of my bills. I'm currently 1 month ahead on bills. My bills and my fixed expenses are not coming out of my paycheck. However, I am taking money out for the next month's bills from that paycheck. So that takes priority. So when I get my income, I first see how much am I going to give to my bills for the next month. I take a bulk of that money, deposit it into my bill account. What's left, I then do my variable spending because that's the next priority. I need food, gas, I need household items. Those are my inline priority spending. So after I determine what's going to go into the bill account, the next up priority is my variable spending, and that's going to be my food, my household, my car maintenance, dining out, any self-care, miscellaneous items. That's the next priority for me. Then after what's left, I decide what I'm going to pay towards savings and any debt payments I'm going to make. So my priority is different based on how I budget. So I have my fixed expenses, which is my bills. Then I have my variable expenses, which is the next in line priority. And then depending on if I know I need to make a debt payment, I'll put debt before savings, or sometimes I'll put savings before debt. But that's how you can craft your budget to suit how you like to manage your money. What's more important to you? You make that decision once you decide what budgeting style you're going to do. Now let's talk about the next budgeting style. The 50-30-20, which I call the percentage category budgeting. This method suggests allocating 50% of your income to needs such as housing, utilities, food, 30% to wants, non-essential expenses like entertaining, dining out, and 20% to savings and debt payments. Adjustments can be made on the individual circumstances, but the key is to ensure essential needs are covered while still allowing for some enjoyment and savings. So you can determine and shift that percentage around. It doesn't have to be 50-30-20. It could be 60-20-20. It could be 60-25-15. It could be 70-20-10. You determine based on what you have going on in your financial world, what you need. Like your mortgage and your housing expenses could be taking the bulk of your paycheck. So that might look like 80%. As you learn to manage your money, as you start saving and paying off things, you can cut that percentage down. Now, I do have a goal, and this is when I say, this is the Husky budgeting style, if you ask me, because me personally, I want to do the 50-30-20. I really want to do that, which means my variable expenses and my fixed expenses will be lumped together under the 50%. When I look at all of my other budgets and my paychecks, when I go back, I'm well over the 50. Am I over the 50%? I'm going to let me take a look at that and see where I'm at with it. I can guarantee you, I don't believe I'm 50% of my income as need, and then 30% wants and 20% savings and investment. I don't think I'm there. Not at all. But I do want to get there, but I'm so used to paycheck budgeting. I'm going to try and see how I can incorporate that into my budgeting journey. That's a goal. That is a goal to elevate to that type of budgeting style. And it might be simpler for other people, but the way my life is set up and the way my spending habits are, I'm not surprised if I'm 95-5. Okay. Or wait, needs, wants. How's that? So let's say, and 90% might be the needs and wants. I'm just joking. So I've given you 3 different budgeting styles. We've talked about zero-based budgeting, paycheck budgeting, and percentage category budgeting, which is the 50-30-20, and you decide the percentage numbers, whatever suits you. These budgeting styles offer various approaches to managing your finances based on your personal situation, whether it's more important to you to pay off debt, for savings, or to get your income to not be wiped out by your expenses overall, if you're anything like me. So now that we've discussed the budgeting styles and you guys have some thinking to do, I still have more information to give you in regards to budget. Number 1 is you're going to track and adjust your budget regularly. Okay. Regardless of the budgeting method you choose, it is essential that you track your expenses regularly. Like you may decide to start off with zero-based budgeting and then you might find yourself ending up with the paycheck budgeting. Or you may decide that you're not sure how much you need for your variable low priority spending. So you're going to have to track that spending in order to determine how much you need to successfully allocate towards those categories. Those categories will equate to cash envelopes. Okay, so it goes hand in hand. You can determine your spending categories and stuff that money into cash envelopes. So that is how you can incorporate cash stuffing into your budget. Some people take their fixed expenses, their major bills, and cash stuff that as well. I don't do that. I leave my bill money, my fixed expenses in my bill account, and then I determine for my variable spending and my long or short-term savings goals, which I consider to be my sinking funds. That is what I cash stuff only. I do not cash stuff my bills. I tried that. It doesn't work for me. It does not work for me to take my major expenses, my major fixed bills, and cash stuff that money and then put it back in the bank. I have everything just about on auto pay. So to be on the safe side, I like to just leave that money in the bank. That's what works for me in my budgeting style. While you're determining what budgeting style you want to use, I would suggest take 3 months and try each one. Do zero-based budgeting for 1 month, do the 3% category the next month, and then do the paycheck budgeting the next month. And then you can see what feels right. Like you really, it's really a personal journey. It's like trying on shoes. You have to walk around in them. You have to make sure they're comfortable. Your feet aren't going to be aching. Like you need to see if it fits. Try it on for a month and then come back and decide if you really like that budgeting style. Now that you're going to try them all on and see what fits best, these are some things that you're going to do no matter what budgeting style you choose. You're going to have to determine your full income for the month. You're going to have to calculate your income. That's going to sit down. Now, if you just have a W-2 income, it's really simple. For someone who might be an entrepreneur, they may have multiple streams of income. You're going to have to keep track of all of your income sources for the month to get your total income. You have to budget your entire income out in order to successfully budget. Now, we still haven't gotten into my little personal way of budgeting, but we'll get into that in a second. So now that you've calculated all of your income, now you're going to list your expenses and don't forget a bill. Don't forget, I don't care if you're paying 99 cents for iCloud, you're going to list that too. That 99 cents is money. We're going to list any and everything we spend money on, even if it's monthly, every other month, or every 3 months, however you pay those bills. I want them all listed out. Now, my Payday Budget book has successful ways to help you track all of your expenses, your subscriptions, your credit card payments, your memberships, you name it. And we also have our budget trackers, which are Payday Budget, but they can be used for zero-based budgeting because whether you do your budgeting monthly, biweekly, or weekly, our Payday Budget book was designed to fit all budgeting styles. I'll make sure the link is down below in the description. I'm going to list everything that I'm discussing in this video down below on my mailing list. And I'm also going to put the links to the videos that I feel like you should watch, especially my biggest advice on how to start cash stuffing. That is very beneficial. And I will list the budgeting styles. In order to successfully create a budget, you have to, number 1, calculate your income. And number 2, list each and every expense. It's a must. Now that you've calculated your income, you've listed all of your expenses, now you're going to start thinking about allocating those funds. So, and when I say allocating those funds, no matter which budget we talked about your major expenses, your low priority expenses, your savings, your debt, investments. Those are the allocations you're going to start thinking about. You know your fixed expenses, you know all of your expenses. Categorize those expenses into high priority, low priority, savings, debt. There you have it. So start allocating your funds based on all of the expenses you have. Now, you may have some expenses. You might not be paying a student loan payment, but that's still a student loan debt. So although you're not paying the payment itself out of your monthly income, you know that that is a debt payment you have to make. Because it's not listed on your monthly expenses doesn't mean you're not going to incorporate that into debt. So that's something that you're going to take a look at. Now, in my Payday Budget book, we do have the monthly debt payments trackers, and we have debt savings trackers, the debt avalanche, and the debt snowball. In the Payday Budget book, we do have a lot of worksheets and trackers that will help you manage all of your debt, your savings, income, expenses, cash envelopes, and sinking funds. So you don't want to miss out on all of the good things that this book has to offer. I'm going to make sure that that is linked down below. If you've caught any of my Instagram, and my Instagram is here, and if you caught any of my TikTok, and I'll link that here. But listen, that is one of the things that I struggle with. Not necessarily struggle with, but that is an important piece of the puzzle for me. I get crazy when I don't track my expenses. The next step is tracking your expenses. That is a very important and essential to having a successful budget. You need to see where your money is going. You need to make sure that your spending categories align with the money you've budgeted for those categories. If you budget $100 for dining out, but you see every time you get money, you're spending $200 on dining out, you need to either adjust that category to give it more money, or you need to cut back. But you're only going to know that if you track your expenses. Track your spending is essential to making sure that your budget is working from cycle to cycle to cycle. Now that you're tracking your expenses, as I just notated, adjustments may be needed. The other thing is adjusting your budget on a regular basis. I adjust my budget week to week to week. I do not allocate the same budgeting amount. The majority of the time I do, but I have flexibility in what I determine to be a priority during this budgeting pay period or this budgeting cycle, however you want to call it. So make the necessary adjustments every time you go to look at your budget to make it work for you. This budget is yours and yours only, so you make it how you need it to be to manage your money successfully. It doesn't have to be what someone else is doing. There are a lot of YouTubers, and I see a lot of people fall into this. You're watching other budgeters and YouTubers budget their money, and you're trying to do exactly what they're doing, but you don't have their financial situation, you don't have their income, you don't have their debt, their savings. So you can't use someone else's budget. You can take tips to build your own. It's like a Build-A-Bear or Legos. You build it however you want to build it. But I guarantee you it will fit one way or another. You make it work for you. One of the other things I mentioned previously, and I want to hone in on it a little bit more, is plan for irregular expenses. That means you might not have a monthly bill, but you may have a bill that's quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. For instance, my car insurance is paid every 6 months. So I'm not paying a car insurance bill every month. However, what I'm doing is a budgeting to take money out every paycheck in order to put into a sinking fund so that when the 6 months comes, I'll have that money for that payment. Plan for irregular expenses accordingly. Another way that could do that is listing out all of your bills. You can see that even though I didn't say list your monthly bills, I said list all of your bills. I don't care if it's a quarterly bill, a semi-annual bill, or annual bill. You have to list every expense, and then you cater your budget based on the bills that you need to pay and when you need to pay them. That is very important that you do that. We are rolling, and I have another tip for you in regards to building this budget. Okay, build an emergency savings. So some people say save $1,000 as an emergency savings, and that's good to get you started. You should have something for unexpected expenses or situations. Have something. Start building. Take money out of every paycheck every time you get income. Set money aside for your emergency fund. Now, rule of thumb is they say you should have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved. That's amazing. Everyone's income does not afford you to do that. What I will say is do what you can. Build an emergency savings so that if something happens, you have something. You just don't have zero. Even if it's $100 or $200, save something. Don't feel like because you can't save 3 to 6 months of expenses that you're not going to build an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is based on your financial situation. So build an emergency fund based on what you can afford. And if you find that it's hard to start doing that, look for things around your house that you can sell. I'm sure there are some things that you can sell around the house that give you extra money. Throw that into your emergency savings. Also, I don't believe that we have been put on this earth without a skill. I believe everyone has a skill. Figure out what your skill is and leverage that to earn additional income. I don't care if it's making greeting cards, balloon decorations, cakes, you name it, lawn services, doing people's gardens. Like, oh my gosh, I would love for someone to come do my garden. But listen, what I mean is leverage your skills to earn additional income and put that towards your savings or your emergency fund. But don't feel as though you can't have an emergency fund. It's very important that you build on an emergency fund. Okay, so we have covered a lot. I hope you were able to benefit from that. Talk all day about budgets, okay? Because budgeting it's a part of me. Like, it is a life skill for me now. Like, it's a part of my daily routine. I can't think of a day where budgeting doesn't come into play. Like, I am constantly, one way or another, conscious of my budgeting. You align your budget with your values. That is a crucial step, that your budget works for you. Your budget is designed and aligned with your lifestyle and your financial needs and your financial goals. I say this all the time to a lot of people, someone else's budgeting style necessarily can help you. However, it may not work for you because your financial situation and your life is set up differently. So I keep reiterating on that because that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people do when coming into this budgeting and cash stuffing community. They want to do what everyone else is doing. You have to take what you're doing and be content with your situation. Focus on you and only you. I think that's very important in life, that we focus on what we have and what we can do with what we have. We have went over a lot, and I hope that something in this video you were able to take and say, I'm going to do this. This is going to work for me. I'm going to try this. I'm going to start. I'm going to stop, etc. I just hope that something in this video was of benefit to you. So I want to say one more thing to remember. Creating a budget does not mean you can't live your life. It does not mean restricting your life. You can enjoy your life, and budgeting is to help you enjoy your life even more. Some people said to me multiple times, I get snide comments where people are like, you're spending money. What type of budgeter spends money? Budgeting is not just for people who have no money. You do know millionaires manage their money. Billionaires manage their money. It's called financial management. That's why they have financial advisors, financial planning, because you have to manage your money. Although you have more money to spend, it doesn't mean you still don't have to be aware of what you're spending, where your money's going, or how much money you're making. It does not mean that, oh, you're going to start a budget. Now my life is over. I can't have any fun. I can't spend any money. Do y'all not know me? Because I spend some money. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that. I'm actually sad. I'm really sad about that because I am trying to cut back on those spending habits. I am an emotional spender, so that's a whole nother topic. We'll get into that in one of my next videos. But for right now, I just want to let everyone know that it just means you're making intentional choices with your money. It just means that you're being more aware and responsible. Knowledge is power in today's world, and knowledge of what you have, where it's going, or where you want it to go in your future is very important. This is an enlightening video, and listen, if you can hear the spark in my voice, like, I can't wait to start my next budget. I didn't tell you all about my budgeting style. Let's talk about that. So now that I've went over the 3 popular budgeting styles, let me give you a little bit of insight on my personal way of budgeting. I am a zero-based budgeter and a paycheck budgeter, but my paycheck budget supersedes zero-based budget. So I definitely budget every paycheck. I am a paycheck-to-paycheck budgeter. I have 4 to 5 budgets every month. I do a monthly budget at the beginning of the month, and if you watch my video here, my April budget setup, you'll see that I set my monthly budget up, and I go through how I do that using my payday budget book. This is a budget style that works for me. I do a monthly budget overall, and then I do 4 to 5 paycheck budget. And those paycheck budgets to equal up to what my monthly budget is. One week I made zero-based budget. Another week I may feel like my income was too high. My income fluctuates because I do have a W-2 income, and I also have small business income. The two combined is my weekly paychecks. If I feel like my income for the week is a little bit too high and I don't want to pull that much money out and put it in cash envelopes, I'll leave a portion of that money in the bank, and I will budget a certain amount that I know that I'm going to need for my fixed expenses, my variable expenses, my savings, and my debt. Whatever I determined that to be, if I had $2,000 left over, I would leave that in the bank. I wouldn't even budget that money. My budgeting style works for me. That's not zero-based budgeting. It is paycheck budgeting. It's not the 50-30-20 budgeting, but it's my way of budgeting. I've incorporated a little bit of each budget style into the way that I budget, and that works for me. I don't want to zero out my income every single time. I may have $200 left over and let that roll over to the next pay period. I didn't zero-based budget. You can take a little bit of each one and incorporate it. You can do one or the other, but that is my personal way of budgeting. That's how I manage my money, and it's worked for me, but it took me years to really figure that out. I tried everything. I tried every way, and I determined that this is the way for me. So now we've talked about how to create a budget, and that is one of the cash stuffing secrets that I don't think people realize you need. In order to cash stuff, like, you need the budget first, and then you can cash stuff. Now that we've talked about that, and I've gave you my biggest advice on how to start cash stuffing, I know all of this information crosses each other, but the more you understand, the better you will be in your budgeting journey. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Please stay tuned for my next video, and I will put everything linked down below. And please join my mailing list so you don't forget, you don't miss out on my giveaway, you don't miss out on any promotions and my newsletters that will be coming out. Thank you so much. Bye.